Yo, what's poppin', guys? Stencil here, and today we're taking a look at the Havoc collection. Without further ado, let's get started. So first things first, we have the PP-Bizon Death Rattle, which is a pretty unique skin. As the name suggests, with the rattle part, it kind of has like a rattlesnake kind of skin around it, and it looks good. It looks like a rattlesnake kind of shedding its skin, and someone put it on the Bison for some reason, which is a bit of a weird choice for where to put your snake skin or whatever, but it works. It's pretty solid design. It does cover the whole weapon. That's a big plus. I think it's easy D tier. Possibly, honestly, I'm gonna put it in a C tier. It's unique. It's not it. It has the same color scheme as a lot of very basic like sand camo skins, but all these hexagons make it very clear this is like a snake skin, and it looks kind of cool for it. I'm not gonna lie. Next up, we have the sawed-off clay ambush, which is interesting. The main design actually is the same color scheme as a stock sawed-off, because you can see this pump here and the back handle still have the same texture as the stock weapon, but the rest of the gun is colored the same way so that it looks like it fits a bit, even though it's still using a lot of the stock loadout. And some of these designs are okay. Can't really say they're horrible, but this barely looks better than a stock sawed-off. I could barely tell the difference. It clearly has these random tiger patterns or whatever. Maybe with a really good pattern you could see more, but even then, these things don't look like they go together. If you can see where my mouse is, just doesn't look like that great of a skin. I'm gonna put it down in the F tier for basically being stock. You might as well stick with stock and just buy like a sticker or something instead to put on your stock sawed off if you want to go with the skin. Next up, we have the dual Berettas Heist, which are kind of interesting. So the outside of the weapon, like the rim of the entire weapon, still uses the stock kind of design, but parts of this weapon use like almost like a map for a planned heist. It has the same kind of color scheme, and has a bunch of like random text and markings and stuff suggesting what the heist is going to be about. Actually looks kind of cool. And for some reason they have this red dot right here on both guns in the same spot, which is interesting, I guess. Not really sure if it's bad or good though. It's just kind of there. But I mean, these skins, despite not being finished, I actually really like these designs. I think they're pretty unique, and they actually show that someone cared a bit about the gun. Not enough to finish the texture for some reason, so it's still gonna go on D tier, but it's a cool texture to have on them. I don't think it looks bad by any stretch of the imagination. Next up, we have the Tech 9 Phoenix Chalk, and I think this is the first one that I noticed that has a full texture. The whole gun is being textured with the Phoenix Chalk texture, although it's not the normal chalk that you just use on a sidewalk. It's that chalk after like a day of rain. So it'll like rain like overnight or in the morning or something, and you look out the thing you made, and it's still mostly there, but it's a lot darker, and some of it's kind of mushed together. That's what this kind of looks like. It does not look very good. I think I'd honestly put it. I'd even put it down in the F tier. I think it's not that good of a skin. It's a bit better than stock, so I'll put it above the sawed off, but not much better. I don't like the dark coloring of rained on chalk. Then we have the M249 Predator, which looks kind of clean. Even though this is fact new, you can see tons of scratches in the front. That's not something you'll notice in like standard gameplay, especially with the lighting. You really need a very particular lighting to even notice the scratches there. And it has the design of like a basic kind of camo like skin, but the coloring of this like darkish red, covering like the background of like the kind of sand or tan or whatever you want to go with, actually works kind of nice. I don't know why. Just looking at this gun, it looks kind of cool. I literally don't know why, but by all accounts, this should be your standard camo skin. But I think it's pretty solid. I'm putting it at the top of D tier. I literally can't explain why I like it so much. Next up's our first industrial grade weapon, which is the MP7 Vault Heist, which it's interesting, I guess. It uses the same texture as the dual Berettas, but instead of that color scheme, it has a much nicer color scheme of dark gray and gold, which really goes together a lot better. And since the weapon is bigger, you can also see a lot more of the design. Although I have a very weird problem with my CS where some things get super pixelated. So right here, for example, you should be able to read this text, and in 99% of people's games you will. But in my game, you don't for some reason. You still see stuff like this plus 27, and the gold kind of really sticks out over the dark gray, which makes it very clear that like there's some kind of math or plans going on. But this might just be a bad pattern of it, because if you see here, you can see like the main buildings like right here, and pretty much the main part of this weapon seems to be the grid system, which, in my opinion, just doesn't look as nice. So this particular pattern seems to be bad, but I think with a better pattern, there's a decent gun. Definitely in C tier. I'm not gonna put it anywhere near the other ones. But actually, I'll put it above the snake camo. I think it's a bit cool in the snake camo because the gray and gold kind of color combo works really nice. Next up, we have the R8 Phoenix marker, which has that very nice dark blue handle, and the main weapon is a nice like light blue, almost like I'm not sure if you've ever seen these there's like these special lights that are blue that can show like hidden messages and stuff, which can be really cool. It almost looks like that type of color, which is kind of cool. But something weird going on is I think there's supposed to be a pattern. It almost looks like the same thing as the chalk pattern, like based on this stuff down here. But it's all mushed, like almost like the chalk one, it's all mushed together. But the difference is that this has a much better color pattern, so it's a bit more excusable. And I think the color pattern is just so good that it's really the best thing we've looked at, even though it isn't a shit tier weapon, so it's not going to be worth much. Next up, we have the UMP-45 Houndstooth, which is a gun with a very basic repeating pattern and the same color scheme of the sawed-off. The difference is, the rest of the stock of this weapon does not match this, unlike the sawed-off. So it's just worse. I that's really all there is to it. It's worse than the sawed-off, straight up. Yeah. And next up we have the Nova Rustcoat, which, yeah, it's a rusty shotgun. So people that like that design, you get exactly what you want. For everyone else, myself included, it's not really that great. Definitely better than the D and F tier stuff, but I can't realistically put it above the snake camo. I think the snake camo's a bit cooler in my opinion, so that's where I'm going to put it. Just a very basic rusty shotgun. Very nice and clean look for those who like it. Next up we have the Negev Phoenix Stencil, which actually looks kind of sick. I don't know if you guys know a lot about World War One or Two, but on a lot of like their planes and stuff, they would have graffiti of just random things that they kind of wanted their plane to be like known for. And this has that kind of design, and it being on a minigun, being the Negev, kind of looks like a minigun. It just fits really well. This is still the same pattern that we saw in like the chalk and everything, but being a lot bigger, having this exact color scheme, this color scheme is much better, and being on the Negev specifically made this so much better. I think this is actually one of the highlights of this collection. Pretty easy A tier for me. Even though this is a blue skin, it looks fucking beautiful. This is probably my favorite Negev skin that I can think of right now. But that might not be the case. You'll have to watch more of the tier list to figure that out. But it's definitely one of the better ones out there. I gotta say, it's easy A tier. Very, very well made skin. I don't know why it's a blue. This could have easily been a purple. Even a pink, honestly. Next up, we have the P90 Tiger Pit, which, this is fact new. 0.04 float, so it's a better than average fact new. And it's stupid scratched up in the front. It's even got a big scratch here in the back. That's a 0.04 float. I can only imagine how bad it gets for like a field tested one. That's gonna be horrible. It has some promise. The leather top is always kind of nice. The black background is kind of cool. But these tiger graphics do not look good whatsoever. I don't know what the original artist was going for, but this looks kind of like an old, like almost like a cave painting almost. I don't know. The tigers don't even seem aggressive. They seem like super calm, as if they're like going to bed in a sec or something. And most patterns probably won't look like this with the tiger nice exposed in the middle here. Most of them will probably look something like this with this guy in the front, but around most of the weapon. So this is a good pattern, and it just doesn't even look that good. So I'm gonna have to put this down pretty far. I think honestly, it's just a bit worse than the M249 for me. I don't know why. Like I said, I don't know why I like that M249 so much, but yeah. Next up, we have the Desert Eagle Night Heist, which this one definitely has the dually kind of skin to it, except it has a very nice dark blue color. Really like this dark blue for some reason. And it actually has pink for all the markings, which, if you guys have ever seen any movies where like the FBI is like analyzing their plans or whatever for what they think the heist look like. They almost always use the exact color scheme, this exact color of dark blue on the monitors, and then like pink markings to show where everything is. I'm sure there's probably some movie clips out there that would show this perfectly. And it kind of reminds me of that, and the color scheme works very, very nice. The pink stands out a lot on the dark blue, and the dark blue makes a very nice base color. And you can still very clearly see all the elements of the map. So it's a pretty solid weapon. It's definitely not the best thing here, but it's not that bad. I put it just above the revolver, so bottom of B tier. It's the only thing there right now, but just know it is the bottom of B tier for sure. Next up, I kind of cut that off. Next up, we have the P250 Bengal Tiger, and this is a very particular pattern. Most of them have a mix of orange and white. This one's very, very divided, so the whole top is white on the front here. And I think it would have looked better kind of combined, because that orange is more essential to like a tiger, right? And it's called a Bengal tiger, which I'm assuming is a white and orange tiger. And it looks solid. It's a .06 float, so this one scratch here is actually excusable. Can probably get a little bit better if you make the float a bit better. And it's a solid design. I think it would have looked nicer, obviously, without the stripes, because I really like those simplistic designs. But you can't really go wrong with this one. I don't think it's necessarily bad by any stretch of the imagination. So, I'll put it below the Deagle. I think it's better than the R8's kind of random pattern with a good coloring, because the pattern here isn't bad, but I don't think that its coloring is phenomenal, especially this one in particular. I think the Deagle looked a bit better, so yeah, I think a pretty easy bottom of B tier for me. Next up's our first purple, the Glock 18 Franklin, which, yet again, it's one of those skins you just can't go wrong with. It's literally just $10 bills across the whole weapon, and it just looks clean. You just can't go wrong with putting just money on a weapon. It just looks cool as fuck. Easy high B tier. I don't think it's as cool as the Negev, but it's a solid skin you can't go wrong with. So that's kind of what the B tier is. Next up, we have the Galil AR Phoenix Blacklight, which is a very nice, almost purple-looking gun. Now, if you actually look at this particular pattern, it has like a blue center, pink front, a pink mag, and the only purple part is like this back area. But for some reason, when I look at this thing as a whole, especially from a distance, it just looks nice and purple, like the whole thing together. I think it's because dark blue and pink kind of make purple, so having them right next to each other and then purple in the back kind of confuses my eyes into thinking the skin is purple. Mine looks good, especially since I know there's a lot of people out there that love like purple looking skins. Some of them even have purple like collections. That's gonna be great for them. And I don't mind this coloring. It should, based on everything I've said about most of the other skins here, a lot of them even seem to share this exact design. This should seem super like smushed or whatever and like confusing. But for me, at least this specific pattern, everything's nice and divided. Like I don't know what this says, but very divided from everything else. There's a bunch of like Japanese symbols here or something, and it looks good together. I don't know why. I'm having a hard time explaining why some of these skins are good because their patterns are kind of confusing. But I think it's probably the best thing other than that Negev that we've seen so far. It's a pretty solid skin. Nowhere near as good as that Negev though. That thing's insane. Next up we have the SG553 Hypnotic, which I don't know, it doesn't do it for me. It has a black tip, like very clearly black tip, a lot more black than the default from what I can tell. But everything else, other than the main little middle area here, is the stock weapon, which for me is bad. I like weapons that have a skin actually covering the whole thing. So for me, just having the design at all, just right here in the middle, is bad. And this is a .03. This is one of the better float ones out there, and you still have all these scratches on the top. And I mean, the base design of just like black waves on like a white background doesn't exactly look phenomenal. And this is like one of the better looking hypnotics in my opinion. So just having a kind of mediocre design, not even covering the whole weapon, I think this is honestly worse than the dualies. I like the dualies more than this thing. I don't know if that's an uncommon opinion or not. I'm not a fan of it. Next up, we have the MAC-10 Hot Snakes, and holy shit, dude, this skin itself is fucking hot. I know I said the Bizon looked like it had scales before, but this weapon literally does. I think it's even like 3D modeled to have like a more scaly design. The top part has like the flames to kind of give off the vibe of the hot snakes, and everything else about this is just a really cool color scheme kind of snake that gives off like a fiery kind of serpent. Looks cool as shit, dude. I really want this one. It's a very, very cool looking Mac 10. Probably one of the better ones out there. Easy S tier. The way they managed to get this skin to look makes it look like the whole thing is like super scaly, which is sick. I've never seen anything like this, and it's beautiful. Next up, we have the AWP Silk Tiger, which uses that tiger pattern from before with a different color scheme. It doesn't go onto the scope whatsoever or the main part of the gun. And I think the design of it's kind of uninspired. I mean, the light blue background, I guess, is kind of unique, but I think this is one of the worst AWP skins out there, particularly. And just this design, I don't know why they really liked reusing a lot of the same textures here, but this design with all the tigers does not look good on an AWP, especially. I don't know if there's any color scheme where this thing gets redeemed. It doesn't look that nice. The only thing that's kind of funny is this tiger's face right here. Gives off like the kind of like a bruh vibe, but otherwise I don't know. it's it's not a good it's not a horrible skin, but it's I don't know, it's not good. Probably bottom of C tier for me. And then what should be the highlight of this collection is the AK-47 X-Ray, which I guess is supposed to be an X-ray of the AK itself. Like you can see the bullets in the gun, all the different kind of like pipes and other things that work together to make this thing work. But in my opinion, it doesn't look that good. It does not look like an X-ray whatsoever. It's not like you're doing an X-ray of the weapon. And the color scheme isn't that great. Kind of like a human flesh type color combined with red. It's not a very pleasing thing to look at. And it's just, I don't know, it doesn't look good. I don't see how this is the red for this collection. For me, I would have made it the Mac 10 because I think it's a beauty. I think it's still a bit good, but for being a red man, I don't know. I'm gonna put this below the Franklin even. Still above that Deagle, I think. It's still okay. I mean, it's an AK at the end of the day, and it's kind of cool seeing the bullets drawn on, seeing some of the piping and stuff. But this color scheme is horrible. I don't know who thought that was good, and I don't know. The weapon itself just doesn't look that cool. It's not bad design, but it's just not cool. I'd actually put this below the Deagle. I think it still is a bit better of a color scheme than the Bengal Tiger. So I'll put it there. But yeah, I'm actually kind of disappointed because every other collection we pretty much looked at, the reds like almost single-handedly carry the collection. And I think in this case, this is one of the worst reds that we've looked at in this kind of series so far. And yeah, I mean that's it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll see you in the next one.